today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make your very own bodycon / tube skirt. I know that this style is affordable in many stores like Forever 21 or H&M, but I think this is a great way to show you and introduce you to making and customizing your own style, you know. So you can start from here with a simple tube skirt and you can have fun with this. You can make it your own, your very own design. So if you have any t-shirts that you like to cut up, or you can go to fabric stores and find some fun printed stretchy fabrics, this is a great way to start your own creation. So that is basically it, and let's get started with this tutorial. Okay, so for materials, if you want to use a t-shirt to do this, then I recommend you get a large or an extra large. You can also buy 1 yard in stretchy fabric. Next, you will need 1/2 inch of elastic band, and you can find this at Joann's fabric store or your local fabric store. Okay, so the first step is to have your shirt inside out, lay it down flat, and make sure you straighten all the ripples and all that stuff. Now fold it in half. Okay, so now from the bottom hemline of the shirt measuring upward, I'm going to measure 18.5 inches, and then I'm just going to use my pins to mark it in place right across the shirt. Now it's time for me to measure the width of the skirt, and I am going to go for a size small, so it's going to be 7.5 inches wide. And if you're a different size, then make sure to read the notes in the bubble, and I will list different type of measurements for different sizes. Okay, so measuring the width for the bottom part, where your thighs and your hips will be, that will be 8 inches wide. Continue making your markings halfway up. And don't forget to read the bubble if you are a different size than what I'm using. Okay, so here I'm using a curved ruler to match the lines together to connect them, but you can kind of just draw the curve yourself and do the best you can. Okay, so this next step is to add a 1/2 inch seam allowance to the side of the skirt. And I'm basically using my ruler as my guide to draw out the seam. Now that everything is drawn out, go ahead and cut right on the outer lines. So for these next 2 steps, you can either sew or bond the seams together. If you're sewing, go ahead and sew a 1/2 inch seam allowance along the sides of the skirt. Make sure right sides together and you're sewing on the wrong sides. For my gluing friends, you can go ahead and take the strip of iron-on adhesive and cut that out. Place it on the inside right side of your skirt and then press that down with a hot iron. Then repeat it onto the other side. Make sure you let this glue set for about ½ an hour before you move on to the next step. Okay, so now it's time to work on the waistband, and what I'm going to do now is fold in 1/2 inch of the raw edge. Then go ahead and press that down with a hot iron. The next step is to fold another 1 inch for the waistband. Make sure it's 1 inch all around and then press it down again. Our next step is to sew around the waistband and make sure to leave a 2 inch opening. So what I'm going to do here is take a pin to mark the 2 inch opening. That way I can remember not to sew over this area. So here I'm just sewing along, and remember to not sew where the pins are. If you're not sewing and you're using the adhesive, then go ahead and fold this down 1 inch just like we did earlier and press that. So for this next step, I'm taking the adhesive tape and I'm cutting it so that way the strips can be thinner. That way it doesn't take up too much of the space inside the waistband. So go ahead and place that under the waistband and then iron it on. And remember, just like with the other method, leave a 2 inch opening. So with the waistband, make sure to cut it according to your waist size. So I have a safety pin here and I'm going to anchor it into one end of the waistband. Now I'm going to go into that 2 inch opening, and now I'm going to insert the waistband. Make sure to not pull the waistband all the way through. You want to hold on to one end so that way when the other end pops out, you can sew it together. The best way to keep your elastic band together if you do not have a sewing machine is to hand stitch this together. If you absolutely do not want to sew, you could actually use a stapler to staple this together. Okay, so once the elastic is sewn in, go ahead and close that opening just like the way you did earlier. This next part right here is for my sewing beginners who's wondering how I sew the elastic bands together. Basically, I just run it under the sewing machine and backstitch many times. Next, I tuck it back into the waistband and then I just close that 2-inch opening with the sewing machine again. Lastly, for a clean look, what you want to do is press down the seams so that way everything looks nice and complete. And once you're done, that is it. Congratulations on your new skirt. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up to support. Talk to you guys next time. Ciao!